Hey, Tonya, it's been freaking forever.
It has been a while.
Okay, we are going to have a Biz Buddy catch up on today's video. I took notes before we started. You and I have a lot of bones to pick. We're talking about looking outside your industry for business insights, avoiding the trap of dismissing information sources with valuable data. Specifically, we have been dissecting the romance fiction industry, and it has been fascinating. I cannot wait to talk about this. We're also going to talk about security and how you make your money. Like, are you really doing what you want to do? You posed a great question in our chats recently. What do we think we gain by dismissing how other people make their money? So, like people who poo poo, say, romance fiction as a genre, or on a more practical level for our online business entrepreneurs, the current debate on high ticket versus the large audience, low price business models. And then just the fallacy that harder things are more honorable and more valuable, which we're going to call bullshit on today.
Yeah, definitely.
So, hi.
Hi. Spoiler alert. You don't even have to watch to the end now, I guess. We just told you.
We just told you everything.
Yes, on that.
But now we will say more words.
Yes, more words.
um, you and I have really been each having lifing, so it's taken a minute to get back on YouTube. You know, we have good
Good time.
conversations.
We do. We really
Yeah.
do. And we have a great community here that watches our videos and comments and emails us and does all that cool stuff too.
No, I love it. Okay. Um, where shall we start? Well, I'm rip the band-aid off. I don't even remember exactly how it started, but you and I fell down this rabbit hole. I fell down a rabbit hole of dissecting an entire industry, and you were willing to go along with it. Um, I'm a librarian, as a lot of people know, and like it's no secret that romance fiction is the like largest money making genre of like all the types of fiction out there. Makes more than mystery novels, makes more than your character dramas. Like romance is it. And um, well, it started because like I've been reading novels again, and I fell down book talks, disgustingly addictive rabbit hole. And I fell into the romantasy genre. So, and I was like, well, let me read like everyone's talking about. So I understand where all these memes are coming from. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. It's totally stupid, but it's so much fun. I'm highly entertained. And it's been really good for my nervous system regulation, which I've been working on. And so that's been really great. But you know me, I can't not see the business behind it. So then I started researching and I was like, who's doing what? And then you started looking stuff up too. And I was like, oh, thank God we're friends.
Well, and, backtracking to it, because of course, how I really got into community. I mean, I'd managed community for a newspaper, I'd managed community for a university, but where I really got into doing this as a side hustle that then became my main hustle was book launches.
Yeah.
So running book launches for authors, running book launches for publishers. And a majority of the launches that I have run have been prescriptive nonfiction. So I'm really deeply entrenched in nonfiction world. I have always been a fan of prescriptive nonfiction. For those of you who are not in the publishing circles, that is the how-to book, right? Any book you've ever done that's like 30 days to do or whatever, that's prescriptive nonfiction. They just boss you around. I like that because I'm bossy. So I've spoken at writers' conferences.
Yeah.
I've taught, at writers' retreat. So very much into the whole industry of writing and fiction. And when the pandemic hit, it was funny as everybody was like, oh, this is the year I write my book. Like everybody who's an aspiring author, this is the year I'm going to write my book, right? So everybody wants to write a book. And Goodreads had released an industry report about readership into 2020. And it was, everybody was shocked at like, oh my gosh, like, book sales have gone way up, readership's gone way up. And then when they looked at what was actually trending, it was at that time, paranormal romance had like skyrocketed. And so I, of course, was like like I was trying to figure out what that was, right? So my mom, just so we're clear, my mom was a Harlequin novel fan. I used to call those her Lost in the Dust books. I mocked her incessantly for them, and I swore I would never read such trash.
Bodice rippers.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, such the bodice rippers. I was always like I couldn't even, because back in the 80s, you couldn't even tell what they were talking about. I'm like, talking about the ocean? Are we talking about something else? It was like so euphemistic.
The euphemisms are so strong.
They're so like, So I was like, but I know what romance is, but paranormal romance, because I was like, paranormal, like, is that vampires? Is that what? And it's like, yes, it's vampires. Yes, it's werewolves.
Right.
And then like the romantasy is more like dragons and unicorns and whatever
Fairies,
else.
the fae.
Fairies. The fae, yes, the
Mm.
fae. But and so there was this big, like, really great critical essay on, like, there was the facts of how high the sales were, but then it's like, what is driving this?
Yeah.
And the short answer is escape. Everybody was under high stress. And when you
I
think
thought of
of
that.
women
Mhm.
as readers, right? Like I tell people all the time, the pandemic broke moms, right? Like it was hard on everybody, but when you look at anybody who had the role of mother in 2020, these women were working,
Yep.
and most of them, some got furloughed, yes, and they had a financial constraint, but many of them had to work from home. Then they're expected to homeschool their children under the guise of distance learning. Their partners, if they're partnered, were in the home. They had no access to childcare, right?
Hmm.
Because childcare centers couldn't work.
Hmm.
So they were already overwhelmed, and now they're like 10 times overwhelmed. Is it no wonder that they are seeking out some form of escape? And they're not wanting to do that on their screen all day,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's where they're at for their work. And so, yes, it makes sense that they would read.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that they would read things that are absolutely positively impossible, like dragon shapeshifters.
Well, I love the point. Like you had pointed this out in one of our voice notes, and you were like, the escapism piece. And I was just like, ding, ding, ding. That is it. And it got us onto this conversation thread in terms of business. It made me really think about the way businesses get marketed and the way that we tell people about what we do. There is something about what the romantasy fiction world is doing right now that seems very sort of natural and not forced, which I think is why people are also additionally attracted to it. And it has so much to do with tapping into the true need and emotion that people are seeking. And I was like, this is the thing we talk about in our online business community all the time. And I'm like, it's right here in this industry. All you have to do is just like literally fire up TikTok or books of Instagram or books on YouTube and just watch these creators who read and then dissect these things, talk about and interact with each other around this genre, which might not be your genre, but it got us talking about the ways in which our business community is really digging itself a hole because it regularly dismisses, things that are deemed not as serious, or it just doesn't apply to me. I know, because I'm an analogous thinking teacher, that I think a lot of people have a hard time connecting dots that aren't so obvious for themselves.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why you and I've always bonded as business friends is because we do that. And so we like talking
Yeah.
about it. But I'm wondering, like, what would you say to somebody right now who is really resistant to looking at something that isn't like so apples to apples, like, you do community, well, this is a community manager, therefore I have to follow that, and this thing is frivolous over here, how in the heck is that going to apply, like.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a couple things. So one thing I talk about, and I did not come by this on my own, but somebody said this to me ages ago and it made perfect sense, which is you tend to be able to learn bigger lessons faster when you look at, they called it analogs and antilogs, right? Analogs,
Yeah.
things that are similar, antilogs, things that are the opposite or different. You tend to learn more because when you're looking similarly, so, if I'm comparing myself to other community managers or even other online business owners, it is too easy to get stuck in the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're a Facebook groups expert and I'm a Facebook groups expert, and I go, well, why do you have 10,000 people in your Facebook group and I only have 815 in mine? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, that's easy. It's because you did ads or because you did this or because you did that. But if I look at an entirely different industry, like I look at the automotive industry, and I go, okay, so that new vehicle, I'm thinking of like the Aztec back in the 20s, or the 2020, like 2005 or so. The Aztec came out. It was the ugliest thing anybody could think about, but you could like use it to pitch a tent, which was
Love that
selling.
this is what came to your mind.
Yes, this is what came to my mind. Work with me here,
Of all
right?
the
But it's like,
vehicles, this is what you choose.
okay, so they didn't sell a bunch of them at the beginning, but it's like, okay, so what? I mean, but they sold they sold a fair number of those, and it
Yeah.
got to where it was like, what we sometimes call ugly cute. Like everybody
Yeah.
had accepted the fact that they were super ugly to the point that they were like, yeah, but I kind of like it. It's kind of cute. But it's like, okay, if that company can take something that's not so great and actually carve out this like really passionate niche for it, well, what are they doing? What can I observe that I can then apply to my own business?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, like the easy lessons is that a smaller community that has rabid loyalty can be very powerful in terms of driving revenue, but also in terms of driving business growth.
Yeah.
But if I was just to sit there and compare myself with another Facebook group expert or Slack community expert who just like supersize their audiences, it would be easy to be like, well, yeah, I'd have that size audience too if I was going to drop $3,000 a month on ads.
Right.
And then if I was one of those people who believed only organic traffic counts, right?
Mhm.
Because paying for traffic, that's the easy way out, Mary. I know you know that, right? Then it would be easy for me to be like, well, their success doesn't count.
Yeah, you and I've been watching just the business weather as it's
Mhm.
been passing. And there's a lot of arguing going on right now, in terms of people who are dismissing people because they think they took the easy route. Um, people who, I'm seeing it all over threads actually, which has been an interesting place to
Mhm.
watch it go down. There is definitely a debate going on between like high ticket is still the only thing. You're making it so much harder for yourself if you whatever, but they also are like it. I'm toiling away and selling high ticket things, and like somehow there's more value in it. And I've seen a lot of people who've been in the space a very long time, like myself, do a shift, and I feel like most of us have been doing a little bit quieter because the debate is so loud. And it's like, you know what? I did the high ticket for a while and like
Mhm.
plenty of people are still running high tickets. Great. But there are a lot of us who are very comfortable in content creation and doing large audiences and low priced offers. And sometimes you also just need to switch it up, and that's why we're entrepreneurs, right? Like you get bored sometimes. And there it's so interesting watching that because meanwhile, over on this side and playing with the romantasy fiction world and watching how this content is being produced and pumped out and used in so many ways. Maybe it's just because I went into squirrely places in my research, but the algorithm is feeding me all kinds of, information now about like these cosplay events. I mean, like the
Mhm.
monetization of that intellectual property is astounding in a really cool way. And
Right.
I wish that more of our sort of square stick in the mud entrepreneurial community that's like so focused on funnels and how do you crack the code and I'm going to beat the algorithm, and it's like maybe you should just chill out and watch a bunch of people go positively feral over getting dressed up and paying a lot of money and traveling to other countries, by the way,
Mhm.
to go make believe for an evening because they really love that book and that one actor is going to play that part and they just want to take a picture with them. And I don't
Right.
understand why. I have such a hard time understanding why it's hard for so many people in our, service-based community to sort of break out into just being a little bit, I don't know, more loud, more proud about what you really want to do, you know?
Yeah. Well, so that is, I think, a good question, right? Like, why can't we be more loud and proud about what we really want to do? But then that makes me go, okay, how many of us actually know the answer to that question?
I mean, I just posed that question in one of our private voice notes where I was like, Tanya, and I'm not ready to talk about it publicly yet, but I was like, Tanya, I was like, is this what I want to be when I grow up? Because there's this thing
Right.
happening, with voice work. And I think that I just think that so many things can still be incorporated into our businesses though.
right. Well, and what I was gonna, where I thought you were gonna go with that was, um, let me think of here. Like, here's one of the challenges that I have seen in online business since I started. So like going all the way back to, and I would say in 2007, even though I was doing community, I wasn't
Yeah.
equating that to online business,
Yeah.
right? Like that was a different, so I didn't like learn like, oh, I'm actually an online business owner until about 2014. Okay, it took me a while there. But since the beginning, it's like so many people get into, and let's call it the knowledge industry, right? So we're talking course creators, we're talking, people who are monetizing newsletters, but also that like nonfiction author space. And so many times they go into it with this mindset of, I have this information of what people need to know. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell people what they need to know. They need to know this. They think this is the problem, but this is the real problem.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually where the disdain for fiction in general, but like romantic fiction, fantasy fiction, paranormal fiction, speculative fiction, all of this comes from, is because those authors just go, you know what? When it comes to romance, number one priority, happy ending.
Yeah.
That's it. As my readers want a happy ending. Who am I to tell them that the story is so much better without a happy ending? Who am I to say the story is so much better without a cliffhanger? Right? They're not fighting it. They're not trying to swim
Yeah.
upstream or anything like. They're just like, this is what my people want. What's the best way I can deliver that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there is nobody in the writing world that is subscribing to the belief of selling them what they want and give them what they need. Okay, if you tried to do that and sold them what they wanted with the back cover copy of your book and then gave them what they needed inside, you
Yeah.
would be the queen or king of one-star reviews on Amazon.
Mm. Oh, Tanya, that's a mic drop. Oh, I loved it. Oh, I missed recording these with you. It's our first one of the year. It's taken us a whole quarter to do.
I get so stabby on some of this stuff. I appreciate you holding space for my big emotion.
Well, you've been listening to me just go on and on about, and then I found this and this and this and this. But yeah, no, I love the point that you made about, I think this is the huge takeaway. It's like giving people what they want. I have also seen the same thing. I mean, you and I met coaching course creators during COVID, and how many times do we see people, you do your market research and they're
Mhm.
like, they say they want this, but they need this other thing. And it's like, no, your ego has no place in this picture. Just because you
Right.
believe that that's what people need, they are telling you in this moment that that's what they want. And I think that this is where like that sort of absolutism can be a detriment because it's like we're constantly evolving. So like one of my favorite stories from that time when you and I were coaching all those course creators was a nutritionist who was creating a course, and she did her market research, and she came up on the whole like totally exhausted moms during COVID problem. And she was like, but they really need to be like taking their vitamins and doing all the things. And I'm like, girl, they are telling you they can hardly get out of their pajama pants in the morning because life is so crazy. They're lucky if they actually put on like yoga pants, not even real pants right now. And I was like, how can you support them in that? Because she had a list of people who could totally use her help and wanted it. She just had to be willing to give it in a different way at that time, and I think that watching the romance genre as strong as it is for how many decades now is such a
Mhm.
great use case because it's like the types of novels your mom read in the 80s, these like very euphemistic bodice rippers. They evolved. I mean, like I have read some spicy passages in these books recently where I'm like, wow, she put that on paper. Like, did not expect to be reading that right now, but like that's hot. And I thought these are so different from, you know, from fiction that had been written, even just a decade prior. And so like it's gone through an evolution and these authors are really listening to their audiences. They're participating on social, hearing what they have to say. They're not letting the audience dictate necessarily like the ending or how that's going to happen. They're going to deliver them some plot twists, but they're hearing them out. And the way the authors, I feel, in the romance genre really listen to their fan base is just so different.
Mhm.
They're the that egoic response of like, I know better than you how you want to feel in this moment is not not there. They're like, no, I'm here with you. And that has been super cool to watch happen. And I would encourage people to pick some up and watch it happen.
So, I mean, just explore it. Let's look at Colleen Hoover. Okay.
Yeah.
So, started off as an independent published author. Fun story is the only reason she ever put a single book on Amazon was because her mom wanted a way to read her work.
Oh, that's cute.
Then, I mean, she sells so many stinking books. She gets, traditional publishing deals. She is the only author, as far as I know, who occupied all 10 spots of the New York Times bestseller list at the same time. Because that's the other thing is when you're willing to have fun with your writing and you're just giving readers what they want, you can produce a lot faster, right? Than when you're trying to write the next great American novel that changes lives.
Hmm.
But now she's got a nail polish deal. Very first author to ever get a merch deal.
It's incredible.
And all the little book nerds in the world, including me, are like so excited, right? Because I mean, she's like celebrity status.
Hmm.
And all she set out to do was just write a good story that her mom wanted to read?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I think there's so much to be learned. I mean, I know I'm a little biased, but I think there's so much to be learned from the publishing industry and the way books are written and the way they're consumed and the way the market responds to them. Um, and I do think that, the current trend for adults towards these like
Mhm.
spicier romance novels is I think it is a really direct reflection of what you're seeing as people come out of this COVID era of being exhausted and needing that extra escape and needing it a little bit more intense because what you came out of was pretty intense.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, it's incredible to me to see so many other content creators showcasing like their home library rooms and setting up their bookshelves just so and they're annotating their books that it like blows my mind because I rarely annotate you know slushy
I
fiction,
don't.
but they're so invested
Mhm.
in this world and so loyal. And like when you think about the lifetime value of someone like that, I'm like, I think that's what we seek in our
Mhm.
service-based businesses. And man,
Well, and back to, I mean, gosh, well, I wanted to ask you, I'll ask you this first, is as a business owner, what is our risk? What's the damage we are doing by dismissing this kind of data that can be collected from completely different industries? Because you're a
oh my God.
systems person.
Mhm.
So like, what do you see as it's probably not so much loss of productivity, right? But lost revenue. Like, what are our lost opportunities there?
Oh my God. I so feel strongly that any kind of media, whether it's books, movies, TV is user data because we're whole complete people.
Hmm.
So what we do in our off time is a direct reflection of probably what's happening in our business time as well. And when you want to know what's going on with your market, you really don't have to look much further than pop culture. And the fact that it gets dismissed as like, oh, well, that's playtime or it's not serious or that's not my industry. I think it's such a lost opportunity on data. Now, you do have to do more work to connect more dots and like really ask yourself, like, what am I looking at here? I think it's fun when you can find someone like you and I will bounce that kind of information that we find off of each other, which is always fun. But when you see what's happening with people, you can kind of get a sense of where they are at emotionally. It helps you with how you're going to message your offer. It's going to help with how you're going to release things. um I mean, I know it probably sounds like it shouldn't matter, but like, so the movie industry is still really making a comeback right now. But blockbuster movies are still a thing. And if it was like the final installment of Harry Potter's coming out and the world's going bananas, it's like, do you really want to throw your webinar on that day when you know that people are probably going to be a little busy doing other, they're taking their kids to the movie. They're going to have
Hmm.
movie night on their own. I mean, we have whole lives, and I think paying attention to that is really, really important. The interesting thing with the romance fiction world is how much it's not something that you you don't like set aside the rest of your life because you're like, oh, romance. Like it's sort of like it seems to run really in tandem with the person who consumes it with their life in
Hmm.
a way that I don't see other genres doing. And
Right.
that behavior pattern, data wise, to me, is very interesting because it tells me that there are ways we can probably reach our audiences and interact with them that
Mhm.
allows them not to have to feel like they have to put aside what they're doing in order to engage with your thing. That's something I've heard a lot as a systems coach over the years, where people are like, well, in order for me to clean up my systems, I'm gonna have to pause everything and I have to clean it and then do the thing. And it's like, no, no, these things are happening at the same time. And and I feel like I'm still figuring that out right now too. Um, but yeah, I think that's what the data does for us. And it's a shame. It's a shame to see so much good data go to waste.
Yeah, it is a shame to see such good data go to waste. And the other thing that I was thinking about, on the topic of high ticket versus low ticket, what's more valuable and what's not. I mean, a lot of these indie published romance novels, right? The ones that we're talking about. I mean, they're the ultimate example of a low ticket offer. Many of them, digital versions sell between $3.99 and what, $5.99 a copy. And, you'd be like, oh, well, you can't make any money at that. But folks do. I remember I had like a co-working buddy who she did romance, so self-published romance novels. So shorter, right? So a typical novel might be 90,000 words. Hers were in the neighborhood of 40,000. And hers always had recipes in them. Like food was a central thing, and there'd be a couple recipes in the
I
back,
love that twist. That's awesome.
right? So she sold, her books roughly 4.99
Yeah.
each. She had 23 titles when we started working together.
Hmm.
And a low month for her was 5K in sales.
Mm,
And she wasn't having to do anything to make that 5K, right? She wrote the books, she did all the things that she was supposed to do to get them online. She had a social media presence and stuff,
yeah.
right? But the books just sold in the background. And, you know, at the time I met her, she was basically getting paid $5,000 a month to write her next book.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I really love the model of anything that can produce a higher margin. To me personally, that's very exciting.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, it really makes you think about like the quality of the product that gets produced, the longevity of that material. And you think in our business world, we have gone through an era which I think you and I both talk about, I think it's really ending.
Mhm.
People are kind of scratching their heads now and they're like, wait, that's not sustainable. But it's been this like sort of slushy production pipeline of like, frankly, really shitty PDF handouts. And they like apply for like 2 minutes and then they're done. And then the business owner's like, oh no, I need to make more things. And it's like, what if you made something that had a longer tail to it because you were actually really responding to what your people are asking for? I think that there's a deep emotional response in there somewhere. Um and I don't know that our consumers are great at always putting things into words, you
Mhm.
know? There's clearly like, well, there's clearly always been a desire because romance has been predominantly dominated by female consumers for a very long time, which shows you the purchasing power of females. But there's clearly been a desire for a very long time for a type of language that they want to hear, a type of feeling that they want to feel that they're not getting in real life or not enough of. Um, and it's like, in what ways does that show up in our business communities too? Like, in what ways are our clients not getting enough of a certain feeling or not hearing the thing that they really want to hear, which is probably a fuck ton simpler than most of the stuff that we put out.
You know what you just made me think of? And on a like, I just thought of it, so I can't even say like this is how I would do this in my business. But so one thing I feel like that romance novelists do, regardless of type of romance, is their focus is on making their reader feel good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What what would happen if we as online business owners focused on making our customers, our clients, our students, whatever you like to call the people who pay you money for your work, feel good
Yeah.
versus using, I mean, because what's common, right? Fear is a very
I love
common
where you're going.
driver.
Yes, instead of
Okay,
making them
go.
feel shitty and like they
Right.
failed and that they're missing out and that they've, oh God.
I mean, classic copywriting framework, right? Problem, agitate the problem, solution,
Uh,
right?
Make
It's
them sit in
like
their cost of
agitation
inaction so they feel the pain.
the cost of an action.
Oh
But,
God.
and I think there's a lot of business coaches that you and me know and respect that would say,
Yeah.
well, nobody will buy. You can't let them
Mhm.
feel good because nobody will buy. But what if they did? I mean, they buy romance books knowing that they'll feel good. Like, what if we could find a way for our clients and customers to feel good by
You
doing
make
business with us?
My God, I'm just having this huge aha because I've had a lot of head trash around shifting my business model, and I'm like
Mhm.
10xing down on the Sunday newsletter, which is a low price offer.
Which
And
makes me feel good, by the way. Just want to say that. Does make me feel good.
and I'm like, the whole point of receiving that every week is to feel good, is
Mhm.
to help give you peace. And I'm like, oh, I feel like I just had a big like emotional breakthrough as the person who creates and delivers. And once I have more conscious and articulated awareness of it, it's going to change the way the product feels on the other end too. So that just made, and I've been looking at it so analytically, like the margins
Mhm.
are so good, because like X number of subscribers at this price equals this number gross revenue, and the cost of production is basically like in 3 hours tops every week is the production of that. And of course there's administration and stuff that goes around that too. But like the actual like doing the readings, recording them, assembling the newsletter. And I do it all myself. I'm a solopreneur. It's not a heavy lift, So like the cost of labor compared to the gross revenue, like the margin is so good. And I've been like, oh, it's so good. Of course I'm gonna build this offer. But now I'm like, oh no, I'm really building it because I want them to feel good. It's my version of romantasy.
There you go. It's right there.
Oh my God. That's awesome. I didn't expect that to come out on this recording.
I didn't either. That was
It was very
I'm
cute.
like, I'm sitting here going, how can I apply this to my own work?
Oh, you've got so many avenues for it because you deal with community. Why do people want to be in community? They want to feel freaking good.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is the whole premise for my business is everybody deserves a place where they feel like they belong. And for most people, that place has to be online
Yeah.
because you can't always choose your geography. And,
Hmm.
it's
Especially
like
in
we've
business, you need
got,
to connect. Yeah. Hmm.
right, well, especially in business. I mean, it's like I live in this neighborhood and there is somebody in our neighborhood who does not feel welcomed here. And they
Um,
reached out to me about it. And like, I can't do anything about their experience, right? I can't change who their direct neighbors are. I can't change what has happened or any of that, right? Like, even me
mhm,
personally being a good neighbor, I'm one of, say, about 100.
mhm.
But, that person could live in this neighborhood forever, feel that way in this neighborhood, and still have a very rich, welcoming community life online.
Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the beautiful things about our current day and age with online.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. We just like, oh, I love this.
Your
Why did we
mind
wait
blown.
so long to record? No, well, life was crazy.
Life was lifing.
Oh my God. Yeah, I also want to preface before we finish up here, but I want to preface for people that, you and I recording this talk, and we have been talking about, well, we've been dissecting. You've been holding beautiful space for me while I go down this insane rabbit hole right now. Um, how many? Well, it's been like 2 weeks now.
I was gonna say, it's not been that long, but it's been a progression, right? I mean, we talk about things all the time.
It's been
And I
like
don't
two
know if
weeks of
like
note. Yeah.
viewers know this, right? But we talk pretty much every single day, except for that 10 days that I didn't have a voice.
That was very sad. And then I felt so bad and I was like, it's so mean. I can't just be like blah 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 while you're like, I have laryngitis. There were a lot of like texted messages. Um, it worked out really great because I was busy doing so much parent care at the time. But yeah, I think that getting together with the people who you can trust to be safe with to talk about what
Mhm.
makes my audience feel good, that is a golden question right now.
Mhm.
And oh, I'm having this big breakthrough right now. Okay.
Okay.
So many words. And I'm like, can I have this phone call coming in like 5 minutes? So um if somebody is struggling, how do you feel about this? If somebody is struggling to hone in on what do my people feel good about, how likely do you think it is that they don't know what feels good to them first?
Oh, yes.
Because I think that might be the problem for a lot of our business folks is they actually don't know what brings them joy and pleasure, what they desire, all the romantic fiction stuff. They don't
Hmm.
know, they don't connect with it inside of their business. So how the heck are you going to recognize it in your audience?
Well, and so I would say that, and also how how would you or could you present in a way where your audience would feel like it was safe to come clean on that stuff,
Ooh.
right? Because if you don't
Mhm.
know it about yourself, how would you know it about anybody else?
Mhm.
That's my thought. Because I mean, like, I think about there's somebody who I followed, and anytime anything would get like a little bit emotional, they would just be like, "Well, I'm not a crier. I don't cry."
Yeah,
And
I've coached
it's
quite a
like
few of
it,
those.
but what they don't realize then is what you're pretty much telling everybody who's watching you right now is that crying is weakness, and they can't cry around you either. And like, I'm not a huge fan of emotions. Like, they're just not my favorite thing, because I cannot control them. I cannot predict them. This does not work for me in my control freak side. But like, I'm okay letting people have their I've grown, Mary. I've grown probably
Yeah.
through you. But, I'm okay with people having emotions. And I recognize that for some people, they have to experience deep emotions in order to grow.
Yeah.
But that's my thought, is not only
Yeah.
do they not know it in and of themselves, but they've made themselves unsafe for other people to be authentic with.
Oh, I think that's where we leave it for today. We might come back and
Yeah,
keep
I was gonna
going
say
down
part
that.
two, part
Hmm.
three.
Hmm. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. Okay. Well, we will be back soon because the backlog of lifing has been slowly releasing, maddeningly slow. But as we say in romance, a slow burn. Having so much fun with this. Okay. I will see you later, Tanya. Thank you for recording with me today. Thanks for being back.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody. We will see you later. I hope you enjoyed it. I will have all of our information so you can join Tanya's community. You can come check out my newsletter, all that stuff in the description below the video. So thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye.